Okay, hello and welcome to the Migration Mapping Project. As we've kind of said before, this is a mapping project. We know that you're all genealogists, and so the system is probably a little different than you're used to, but we're very grateful for you trying it out for us. So the goal is for us to just make geographic data. So even though you have tons of information on different people, we're just looking for some simple information. And the process might seem a little complicated at first, but once we get going, hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. So we've shared this crowdsourced survey folder with you, and when you open it up, there will be a stencil, and this is what you need to copy, and then there's some instructions here. So I've already opened the instructions, and that's what we're going to be using for this short demo today. So the first thing to do is identify an anchor person, ideally born between 1820 and 1920. A little bit after 1920 is probably fine. Emily and Susan and Lisa can help you identify the first anchor person, if that makes it easier. Our goal is to find people that are ideally first generation immigrants or second generation immigrants. So just for this example, I'm going to use my name, Ben Meter, and just kind of do my my immediate family because it's just a little easier for the demo. So I'm going to identify myself as the anchor person, and so the next step is I need to copy the name tree spreadsheet, and oh sorry, yeah, I need to copy the whole spreadsheet and rename it as my anchor person. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to right click on a PC or control click on a Mac, I believe it is, and I'm going to say, where is it? Make a copy is what I need to do right here. Make a copy. So everyone will be making a copy, and we're all going to be working out of this crowdsourced survey folder for now. That just while we're doing this focus group. And so it comes across as copy of stencil. And what you're going to do is rename, again, control click or right click on a PC and say rename. And I'm going to name this my name, or this should be your anchor person's name, Benjamin Meter. So that's me. This stencil should never be edited. This is kind of, this is the copy me file. That's what we're going to use when we copy each time. So make sure after your copy you rename it to what you need. Cool. So once you've done that, go ahead and open up your sheet. And even though we'd like to, when I get back from I'm away on a trip for the next few weeks, but when we get back, we'll figure out a way to deal with more generations and kind of more information. But for now, we're just dealing with direct ancestors only, and we're just dealing with 4 generations back. So that's parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents. So for now, if we can get this system figured out, I know that we can kind of replicate it and get more. So anyway, the first thing you want to do is you want to fill in the ancestors in the sheet entitled Name Tree next to their An and Tafel number. And so that's kind of the whole first thing, is to just kind of figure out how everybody's related. And so whether or not you're using books or Ancestry.com, or maybe you just have a family tree drawn out, go ahead and just enter the names in the corresponding spots. So for instance, my anchor person is Ben Meter, and my father's name is John Meter. My mother's name is Allison Adams. And I'll just do a couple names up here. I'm not going to go too far. So my grandfather on my father's side, my paternal grandfather, is Glendon Meter. So yeah, why don't we just do this here? That's fine. Joyce Meter. And you can go back and back and back. So once you've filled out all the names, that's kind of the first step. And this sheet here is just so that it can help us organize the names. You don't actually need to enter anything besides names on here. This is all you need to do. So once you've filled out the tree as best you can, you go to the Information tab. And so what this is this is the names, but the Information tab is going to give us our attributes so that our data is interesting to look at. So I'm going to go to information, and you can see that they've started to kind of pop in here next to their on and TOEFL number. And let's see what our directions tell us to do next. Once the names are filled in, switch over to the information sheet. That's great. The on and TOEFL number is already filled in. So we want to identify an ancestor to work on and then kind of go along the row and fill in their information as we go. So let's just do me here. All of my first and middle names, I only have two, which is Benjamin Turner. We know that the Franco-American tradition has a lot of different first and middle names occasionally. I go by Ben, and the reason we have this is that when we make a map, we're going to want to be able to have a simple name. For instance, if there were 5 first and middle names, then sometimes the person might go by their second name or their third name, and so that's why we have the goes by here. Surname is Meter. I don't have a name, but I keep calling myself Ben the Great, so I'm going to just say Great, and I do not have a maiden name. And so here, the next thing I have to do is enter my birth date, or the date I was born. And you can see the watermark here. We're actually going to do year, 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 year with a hyphen, and then month, month, and then hyphen, day, day. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to go into it, but hopefully it also helps you see the date a little better. It will be totally fine for us to manage. So just to go back here, make sure to always enter year, month, and then the day. And even if it's only a single digit, like March or April or whatever, we still want to have you enter 2 numbers for each one. So I'll show you. So for instance, I was born in 1988, hyphen, and I was born in March, which is 03, on the 14th day, hyphen, 14, and I hit enter, and then that's my birth date. I'm still alive, thankfully, so I'm going to leave that blank, and I am not married, so I'm just going to enter my birth date for now. Where was I born? The place name was Rockport or Rockland. I'm not actually sure. It's Penn Bay, so we'll go find the Lat Long. I'm going to write Rockport, and then for the state and province, I'm going to write the 2 capitals. So, for instance, Massachusetts, it's MA. New Brunswick is NB. You don't need to identify the country. It'll be pretty obvious that it's either Canada or Maine. So, Canada or the United States, rather. So anyway, Rockport, Maine. And now I need to find the latitude and longitude. So I've done a good job with my date, and I need to do the longitude. So the next thing I'm going to do is open. Let's see, what does it tell us to do here? To properly enter the Lat Long, open up Google Maps, and do not bother to identify the latitude and longitude if a province or state region is all that you know about the location. You can simply leave it blank. So this Lat Long is just if you know the town, or at least kind of like the county or something that's a little bit more detailed than the state, then we do want you to do a Lat Long. But if you just know Quebec or New Brunswick or Maine, that's too general. We don't care about that. Or we do, but we can't enter that. So I'm going to open up Google Maps, maps.google.com. And I could search for Rockport. So why don't I do that? I'll just do Rockport, Maine. I was actually born in Penn Bay. What is it? Penn Bay Medical Center. So there's my spot right there. It's good, like you can type in things here, but it's also good to just double check, kind of use your mouse wheel and zoom in and out like this, or click and drag and kind of make sure that you think that this location really is the spot, or pretty close to the spot where the person was born. If all you have is a town and you don't know the exact spot, then type in the town, So if I didn't know where a person was born in Rockport, and I just thought it was Rockport in general, maybe I see this boundary and I think, okay, well, they're probably born in this town, and I just pick a spot, just like in the center or something. But I know that I was born in this hospital, so I'm going to zoom into this area and choose Penn Bay. What I want to do now is I want to actually click an empty space on the map. I don't want to click any of these kind of points of interest or anything like that. I want to click a place that doesn't have any stuff. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click right there. And what it does is it drops a pin so that we can get an actual latitude and longitude on the bottom. So I clicked an empty space on the map, and not a map feature, and a box with coordinates will appear at the bottom of the screen. And then I'm going to click on those linked coordinates, and you'll see that that's going to create something over here. So these are the latitude and longitude. So I click that, and then over here you'll see that it creates kind of the traditional degree, minute, second, kind of north by west coordinates. But it also creates these decimal degrees down here, and these decimal degrees are what I want to copy. So once you get your coordinates on the left-hand side of the screen, kind of put your mouse over it until you see the text kind of bar. You know how my mouse is an arrow, and then it's like that. And then I'm going to click and drag exactly as I need there. And then I'm going to say Control C, or that's Command C on a Mac, I believe. Or copy. I think you can right click it and say copy, or control click on a Mac as well. So copy that text. And then we're going to go back to our Google Sheet here. And if this cell is not clicked, then you make sure to identify it. But then when we paste, we actually want to paste up in this formula bar here. And that's just because if we paste in here, I'll show you, if we paste in here, it's going to, oh, it worked out that time. But sometimes if we paste in here, the formatting is kind of messed up. So Emily and I have been pasting up in this formula bar because it seems to be a little easier to manage. So paste up there, hit enter, and then you're done. So I don't know anything else about any other locations because I have yet to die. I'm not married. If I wanted to put in maybe place of current residence, I could do that. You know, I live in South Bristol, Maine now. If you'd like to, at the end, you're also welcome to enter an occupation. You know, I could say I'm a cartographer. You know, I could write a short excerpt or story. And if there were any notes I had about the fields that I've entered here, you know, for instance, other, you know, maybe I entered other means current living location or something like that. You know, you can add whatever notes you want. Don't dwell on this too much, but it's here if you need it. To enter a picture, which, you know, it would be interesting to do. If it's easy, don't bend over backwards trying to do it, but we might have the opportunity to have pictures that we can kind of put in the maps and things. There's some issues with copyright, so if it's not public domain and we don't have the rights for it, then probably don't bother. But if you know that if you have the permissions, or you know, make sure the permissions go in the notes, or if it's public domain, then go for it. You know what? I've been looking at this, and I think that if you have a picture that's public domain that you want to include, you can put a link here. But don't bother trying to upload the actual picture itself. So if there's a picture that's linked somewhere on a Google Drive or online, or it's on some kind of online archive, go ahead and you can link this. But I don't think we should try to upload them. We can talk about that when I return. If there's a way we can gather pictures, let's talk about that. We can have a spot in the drive. But for now, because we're just testing this out, just post a link in there if you have it, and if you don't, then no worries. So I did myself. I'm gonna go and do just one more. I'll show you my father, or my grandfather, Glendon Meter. So I don't actually know what his middle name was. So I'm just going to say Glendon, and he went by Glenn Meter, and we called him Dee, so that's what I'm going to put there. And I don't know exactly when he was born. but I'm going to say it was around 1920, right? So if I knew his exact year, I would write like 1927, and if I didn't know the month or the day, I would write XX hyphen XX. And so that tells us that the person researching Glenn does not know the month or the day. If I knew he was born in September, I would write '09 here, right? If I but if I knew he was born in the 1920s, so born circa 1920, then I would say 192X like that. One confusing thing is that if he was born circa 1900, then I would not do this, right? XX means that we don't know even what decade. It means he's born in the 1900s, and that's too generalized. If we only know a person to a century, we might as well not probably enter this birth date, I think. You're welcome to do it, but we probably won't use the data. So 1900, circa 1900 would actually be 190X because it's telling us now that he was born most likely in the decade of the 1900s, the 1900s. So I'm gonna enter that. Um, I don't know exactly where he was born, but I think he was born in Albion, Maine. And so now I'm gonna go back to my Lat Long, go back here, and I will go find Albion, which is up here. And so if I click Albion, I'm going to see this whole region. I don't know exactly where he was born. I could do some research and find the family farm, but I'm just going to click the centroid, the center of this town, because I'm just identifying Albion in general. So I'm going to click Albion. I don't know if you saw, I clicked once and it took me off of Albion, and then I clicked again. Just click a couple times in an empty space if you need to. There's my decimal degrees. And then I'm going to click like this, copy. And then I'm going to click the cell that's the appropriate cell and hit paste. Boom, and I'm done. Now, if you know, for instance, that there are multiple people in Albion, you don't need to go and do this kind of centroid thing over and over again. What you can do is just, if you know that there's multiple people born in Albion, just copy and paste this to the next cell that you need, right? Or you could just copy this lat long to each cell. So I think that's about it. Good luck with all this. I hope it's fun. I think we're gonna probably, when we get back together, have one more round of notes about how this is working, and then we'll edit it one more time, and then we'll make sure that everybody has the opportunity to do a few different families. So I hope that made sense. Like I said, you can add occupation, any notes, a short anecdote under 50 words if you want, and the picture can be a link to the picture. So good luck, and I will see you after the 9th of June or the 10th of June. All right, all the best.